The only shortcoming is our own realization. Srila Prabhupada told us, if you are engaging in the Krishna conscious movement as I have instructed you, you are already liberated. You just haven't realized it. Through this beautiful story, we learn about the personal, loving exchange of the Lord and His devotees. Subal, one of the most intimate, loving cowherd boys of both Krishna Balaram and Radha and Krishna, appeared within this world in the form of Gauri Das Pandit with the oar of Lord Chaitanya to carry us all back home, back to Godhead, just by appreciating and worshiping within our hearts His mercy and His pastimes. And this oar, as has been explained, has been shared through parampara, through the ages, with all of us. Let us bow our heads at the lotus feet of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, at the lotus feet of all those exalted devotees who are assisting in His mission, like Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, Chandramali Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Vishramba Madhava Maharaj, Chintamani Devi, Shukavaha Devi, and all the assembled Vaishnavas. Let us worship them, because in worshiping the Vaishnavas, we can be on that boat of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And with that oar, we will also be carried across the ocean of material existence. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. I'd like to introduce you to a very dear elder god sister, Chintamani Devi Mataji. In 1972, when I had to leave Vrindavan because of visa complication, by the inconceivable arrangement of the Lord, I found myself in New Vrindavan, living on a mountain. You had to walk up several miles of a mud road. There was a 150-year-old broken down little house that was a temple for a painting of Sadbhuja. That's all that was there. And Hayagriva Prabhu, his wife Shamadasi, their little baby Samba, Willow and Sky, who later became Kunti and Karnamrita, a devotee named Murari Gupta, and Adipati and his wife. They were the only ones living there. There was only about 7 of us. And because nobody liked me at New Vrindavan, because I had just come from India and I had strange ways, the main community was at Bahulaban. But the first day I arrived, before I could even have darshan of the deities, they sent me up there. Even though nobody came to New Vrindavan, they were thinking that I was a bad influence. So they sent me up to the mountain with just a few people where nobody would ever see me. But I was so happy, because that was the place that Prabhupada first lived for 1 month, in the same little broken down house. So I learned how to milk cows, And I learned how to do gardening because there was nothing else to do. I remember they asked me to pull weeds. And I was coming from India where I was learning from Buddhists and sadhus, and I said, I will not pull weeds because they're living entities and it's violence to kill weeds. So my authority preached to me very strong that Krishna told Arjuna to kill in Bhagavad Gita. Said the flowers are like the Pandavas and the weeds are like the Kurus. If you don't kill them, that means you're on the Kuru side. If you're on the Pandava side, you have to kill these weeds because they're going to kill the Pandavas. So I was trying to surrender to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in a very practical way that I didn't expect. But I had my own way. I would put my mouth right to the soil, so my lips were really right against the earth. And as I pulled the weed out by its root, I would chant the Maha Mantra. And I was thinking that if the weed dies hearing the name of Krishna, he will get some benefit. So that was my service. And for Mangal Arti, there was just a few of us. Somebody would do a little arti to a painting. And one day, all alone, this devotee named Chintamani Devi came up, and she was carrying deities of Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra. She had her own deities. And she placed them on the altar. Now, finally, we actually had deities of Krishna, Balaram, and Jagannath. Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. And she became our head pujari. And she told us the story of those deities. Would you like to hear? It is an amazing story. One who hears this story with receptive heart may just go back home, back to Godhead. We humbly request Chintamani Mataji to narrate the story for us. But before that, while they're bringing the microphone to her, let us all welcome her to the Pune yatra. Hari Hari, if you can sit here, it's better. Yeah. Sukavaha Devi, you can also come here, please. Haribol Chintamani Devi.
here by Lord Jagannath's grace, and I feel overwhelmed right now because in Detroit, I'm the only Mataji in the ashram. I really wanted some sadhu sangha, and Lord Jagannath arranged for him to come here, and I've never been here before. And thank you for everyone. Thank you for your association. Which story were you talking about? In Japan.
You can tell all the stories.
You mean the one in Japan?
All the stories. Beginning in Japan.
Lord Jagannath came to me in Japan. I met Srila Prabhupada in 1969 and got initiated 5 days later in Columbus, Ohio. A few months later, got married, and a few months later went to Japan to help open the temple in Tokyo. And I remember Lord Jagannath came in a box. I didn't know much about deity worship. We put them up on the altar, and they didn't have any clothes at that time. We gradually found out about worshiping them. And just like Maharaj was saying, Srila Prabhupada inspired us to do things we wouldn't ordinarily do. And we wanted to cooperate because we loved him so much. We were all different types of people, different types of bodies, different race, sex, different nationalities, but we wanted to please Srila Prabhupada. And I found that what pleased Srila Prabhupada was our sincerity in our heart, if we really tried. Even when we were going on Samkirtan, he said, give people the opportunity, whether they take a book or not, that's up to them. Just give them opportunity. And sometimes, I know there were times I didn't do something right, like I was supposed to draw a picture and it wasn't right. Prabhupada was shaking his head, no, that's not right. He said, you tried, that's all that mattered. If we do our best and we're sincere, Krishna will give us the ability to make advancement. So the Jagannath deities came. I still have them 40 years later. And I think the story he was talking about was in Japan. We had a very small little temple, and Prabhupada came to Japan 2 times because all the books were printed in Japan. If you look at the old books, it says Dainapand. They were printed in Tokyo. So that was wonderful that he came there. And we had a homemade altar. The deities were on the top shelf. There were two steps under Lord Jagannath. And when I first went there, there was only 3 of us, and we were going on Harinam every day, and we had a Sunday feast. A lot of people were coming. And one day I was cooking for Lord Jagannath, and I think then there was 4 or 5 people at the temple. They were on Harinam. Sudama and Bali Mardan and I think Borjan were on Harinam. And I was cooking. I was a little bit late, and if I remember this right, this was a long time ago, but I was wondering, is Krishna really eating this offering? As I was cooking, I was thinking, is he really eating this? Is it really true? And I was late for the offering. I heard a noise, and there was no one else in the temple. I heard this noise, thud, like this. And I just stopped for a second, and then I didn't hear anything else. I knew there was no one around, so I kept cooking. A minute later, I heard a noise, thud. And so then I got a little scared, like what? I looked in the front room and the back room, and then I looked in the temple room, and Lord Balaram was standing on the bottom shelf. And there's no way he could have fallen because it was a straight drop. And I went in, I had just dressed them that morning, the chain was across the altar, and no one else was, and I was just looking like, what are you doing down there? How did you get down there? And all of a sudden I started thinking, he's hungry. He's really eating. And so I got really excited. I put him back up and I said, okay, I'll go and finish cooking. I was like going really fast, and I brought the offering in, and then they came back from Harinam, and I said, guess what happened? I told them, and I still remember Sudama and Bani Radhan looked at each other like, your wife has gone crazy. But Borjan believed me. And a few things happened after that too, so it wasn't just that one thing, and it wasn't just me. They seemed to be kind of active deities. But Krishna can do whatever he wants. You know, it really doesn't depend on, he's free, he's independent. If he wants to do something, he can do it, so. Anyway, that's what appeared to happen. All I know is I don't know how he got down there, and I heard two noises, so I think he jumped twice. Is that the story? Is that it? There was one at New Vrindavan.
Please carry on.
You want to hear? I'm getting dehydrated.
Is there water?
I just
What about?
I just got here last night. I didn't know I was going less than 1 week ago. Lord Jagannath sent me here. I'm not joking. I'm dressing the Jagannaths at the temple now, the big ones. Lord Jagannath sent me here. I was thinking I wanted to go to Pune. I was saying this last Saturday to someone, and the next day someone bought me a ticket. Well, the way these marriages went when I joined, I was in the Los Angeles temple, the older La Cienega temple, and it was the big temple. Everyone did Harinam, and people at that time were getting married and just going all over the world to open temples. And at that time, Prabhupada was very happy with his household disciples. Someone came up and said, do you want to get married? Because I want to go open a temple in Japan. And it's true. And inside I was thinking, oh no, I don't. I said, ask Srila Prabhupada, because I really wanted to surrender, and all the women said, you've got to do it. And so then Prabhupada married us, and we went to Japan. And we couldn't speak the language, but Prabhupada said, don't worry, if your house is on fire, you can convey the message. So we didn't have any money. It was very cold. Everything I wanted to keep warm, I had to keep in the refrigerator in the winter. In the fourth place we moved, but so what happened the first time Srila Prabhupada came in about, I think it was 1971, he had just done the largest sannyas initiation. It was a really big thing in the early 70s to take sannyas. Some people had just gotten married and they were, can we take sannyas? Sometimes Prabhupada would say no because they just had babies, and you know, it's not an escape. It's got to be a good reason for it. So, but anyway, I guess my so-called husband was thinking about taking sannyas, because the next time Srila Prabhupada came, he came out and said, I just asked Srila Prabhupada if I could take sannyas. Well, that was news to me. And he said, Prabhupada said I had to give my permission or he wouldn't do it. And I thought for a minute, and I said, okay. I didn't even know that much about it. Well, I found out I had to go to the nearest temple, which was Hong Kong, so that was my next stop. And so then somehow it was so cold in the temple that they had taken the Jagannaths and put them in a box. And they had these little Jagannaths on a heating pad on a low setting. I used to go look in the box to see how they were doing. So someone had the idea of bringing these Jagannath deities to Hong Kong, where Borjan and Jagatrini were. And when I brought them to Hong Kong. They have these wooden garlands, and Borjan was talking about sawing off these garlands so they could be easy to dress. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You're going to hurt them. He said, you're too attached. You should keep them. It wasn't really authorized by Prabhupada yet, but I kept them. From Hong Kong, another devotee decided to go open a temple in the Philippine Islands. So I had deities, I knew how to cook. So 3 of us went down, we opened that temple. And I stayed there until I got very sick and went back to New Vrindavan. I passed through Los Angeles, where Srila Prabhupada was. At that time, Jai Tirtha was the president. And everyone was saying, what are you doing? You've got Jagannath in a box, you're in the ashram, you're waving a carrot in front of him. And it's like, you should just worship the deities in the temple, you shouldn't do this. And anyway, my husband had taken sannyas. The deities meant everything to me, it was all I had. And so I was crying, and Jai Tirtha said, we don't want to make you cry, but Prabhupada said this and Prabhupada said that. So in those days, we used to get to go up and personally have a darshan with Srila Prabhupada, and I had never really gotten the courage up to talk to him, hardly at all, because I just like to watch him talk to other people, and he was so great that, if I said anything, it would sound foolish anyway, so. But I had to go ask him about Lord Jagannath. This was very important. So I got the courage up and I brought the box up. It was a blue box with a lid, and only Prabhupada was in the room, and I came in the room, and I remember he asked me questions about the Philippine temple, and he gave me a piece of sandesh. Then I got the courage up. I said, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Jagannath is in this box, and I want them to see you. And I opened the box and stood them up. And Srila Prabhupada had this big smile. He said, oh, they're gorgeous. Then he said, and then I said, Srila Prabhupada, everyone is telling me I shouldn't worship these deities. And he said, who's saying? And then I started to say, but Srila Prabhupada, you said, he just interrupted me. Never mind, he said. He said, you make Lord Jagannath your life and soul, and you will be happy your whole life. And then he said 2 times, so your husband's taken sannyas? And then 2 times he said, then you just make Balaram your son, Subhadra your daughter, and Lord Jagannath your husband. And then, I'm still trying to do that. And then I actually wrote down everything he said right after that, so I remember exactly what it was. But at the end of the conversation, I said, Srila Prabhupada, is there any chance of me going back to Godhead? And he said, if you just do what I told you, you will become fully liberated, Krishna conscious, and go back to Godhead in this very lifetime. And of course, anyone can get Srila Prabhupada's mercy by following his instructions. And just about 3 weeks ago, we have large Jagannaths in Detroit. The Pujari, he left. And I found out he was leaving. I said, who's going to dress Lord Jagannath? I had never dressed large Jagannaths before. It's quite different. So I volunteered. I said, why don't I do it? And I only had 3 days to learn, there's all these mantras, and their turbans are huge, and in Detroit they put all these fans, and I was literally in tears the first time I tried to do it. I was thinking, why did I even volunteer? Because I couldn't get finished. The curtains had to open at 7:30, and those 2 hours went so fast. I'm still trying to stick pins in the turbans, and things are falling off, and I thought it was never going to happen. But actually, after 1 week, it started really getting to be nectar. And all these miracles have happened ever since I started dressing Lord Jagannath, just one after another. It's amazing. And in Detroit, we have had so much snow. It's been so cold. I've been sick the whole winter. I've had bronchitis. I haven't been able to get well early in the morning because the ashram's across the street. You have to walk across the street, and it's really snowing. And I've been thinking about moving to India for about 2 years, and now I'm thinking, well, I've got a service now. I can't really leave the service. Forget about going to India, even for a visit. Because in my mind, I wanted to go to, I'm not joking, in my mind I had this idea to go to Pune. I'd never been to Pune, but I met really nice devotees from Pune, and I said, I really want to go there and get some sadhu sangha. So this is what Lord Jagannath, this is totally what Lord Jagannath did, just in less than 1 week. I was thinking of that verse, how as I was going through the miserable cold and then coughing and sick to address Lord Jagannath, that if my misery makes you happy somehow, then that's supposed to be the highest bliss. So I got to try to think that way. And maybe I just won't go to India. And maybe I'll just try to think what will please Prabhupada, even though I had no association. I'm the only Mataji in the ashram. Maybe this is pleasing Prabhupada, so forget about going to India. So then, last Saturday, I was saying to a devotee named Krishna Shakti that I wanted to go to Pune. The very next day, I get a phone call from this couple that I only met one time, Vedanta Bhatta and Krishangi from New York. I know, they got my ticket. Anyway, they said, we've been thinking about you ever since we met you and you told Prabhupada stories, and we just felt like we had to call you, and we just wanted you to get a ticket. The thing is, you got to leave Thursday morning. And I was like, oh, wow. I was thinking, who's going to do my service? Who's going to dress Lord Jagannath? Who's going to cook my offerings? But I thought, maybe this is Krishna's mercy. Now that I've actually surrendered to not going to India, maybe Lord Jagannath's going to let me go. It's like that. Sometimes you surrender and you just try to do your service, and then Krishna makes all these arrangements. So that very same day, the temple president, I said, should I go? And he had my whole service covered. I don't know who's doing it, but he said, I got your service covered. The only problem was I didn't have a visa. My passport was good for 6 months, and the visa, you had to go to Chicago. And I found someone, well, I'm kind of like a Vanaprastha, so my Vanaprastha that lives down the street, he's got a really old car, and he said he would take me. And we had to go early, and the closer we got to Chicago, it was snowing, you couldn't see, the roads were snow, and it became a matter of life and death. Literally, sometimes you could not even see the road because of clouds. And I said, we can turn back. We were halfway there. I said, we can turn back if you want. But somehow we got there. I applied for the visa. They said, it's not guaranteed you'll get it. I come back later the day, got the visa, came back just in time to pack and get on the plane. Everything was just, seemed like Krishna's mercy. But in the meantime, I'd gotten really sick, and the plane had turbulence, and like all these things were happening, like all these intense suffering conditions this whole week. And I was just thinking, Krishna, if this is purification, I want to slow it down a little bit, because it's really, just please let me get there and alive, because I don't want to disappoint these devotees after they bought a ticket. But I'm just saying this story to show how I feel like, sometimes it's difficult, and I wasn't born in India. I don't have a pious birth like most of you are born in India, and you don't have as much bad karma as I had. But so there's hope for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter if you're a man, it doesn't matter if you're old or young. All that matters, like Prabhupada said, it can take 1 second or it can take many lifetimes. We just have to make that decision to do our very best, to try our very hardest. I don't know even what that means, because we could always do better, of course, but Krishna, we take one step towards Krishna, he takes 100 steps towards us, and he will help us. And I'm not like the Maharajas here who have been very advanced devotees pretty much the whole time. I've had my ups and downs in Krishna consciousness, but I'm just saying that even though sometimes it may feel like this is very difficult, or not, where's the reciprocation? Why do I have to suffer so much? So many things may happen, and then one day